The baby being carried into hospital in Gaza City by his uncle is just one tiny testament to the hunger crisis here. Uria is an orphan after his parents were killed in the war, and the relatives who are bringing him up have scarcely enough food to feed themselves, let alone him as well.
Uria is suffering severe malnutrition. He's not accepting milk or nutrients, nor supplements at all, and that's all due to his very difficult health condition.
Saeed has cerebral palsy and he's gone for 3 days, surviving only on water. The hunger first targets those with pre-existing medical conditions or children like Mohammed, 7 months old, yet weighing just 4 kilos. His mother too malnourished to feed him, and his grandmother dizzy from the lack of food herself.
There's nothing. Where can I get food? I mean, there is no food in all of Gaza.
The UN's main aid agency here says Palestinians are neither dead nor alive now, but walking corpses instead, fainting from hunger in the summer heat. Israel says it has let enough food in, but over 100 aid agencies say that simply isn't true. The head of the World Health Organization calling this man-made mass starvation. Isn't it shameful that we're starving, asks Taisir. I want to get breakfast for my children. I've got 22 people to take care of, including the injured. Then there are the orphans. Enough is enough. Even aid agency workers are not eating, in order to feed what there is to their children first.
Our staff is trying to take care of their casualties without having eaten as well. So this is a really pressing scenario, and it needs to end. I think people are at the end of the rope. It's hard to continue to go on day after day. I don't know how they've done it up to this point, and they don't know how they've done it up to this point, but somehow they do. But at some point it has to stop. This is a cruelty being inflicted on them.
Earlier this week, the WHO staff building in Deir al-Balah was attacked by Israeli forces. The men were handcuffed, stripped and then interrogated, the women and children forced to evacuate on foot, in what the Israeli military described as the detention of several terrorist suspects. The main warehouse, full of medical supplies, was also destroyed, and after that it was looted by desperate Palestinians. All this a recipe for Gaza's malnutrition to get worse. The hunt for food and water is constant for many, but it's those too exhausted to walk who worry doctors the most. The World Food Programme says 1/3 of Palestinians, that's some 700,000 people, are not eating at all for several days in a row.
And Jonathan has the latest from the newsroom now. Jonathan.
Jackie, ominous news tonight about this 60-day ceasefire, which the Palestinians in Gaza have been hoping and praying for, because Steve Witkoff, who is President Trump's peace negotiator, has announced that he is recalling his diplomats from talks in Qatar for consultations. He is squarely laying the blame on Hamas. He is accusing Hamas of a lack of desire to reach a ceasefire, of being selfish and uncoordinated. And he is warning, Mr. Witkoff, that is, that America will now consider alternative options to bring the hostages home, which sounds like a continuation of the war. We know what the main gap is between the two sides. The Israelis want a temporary ceasefire, one which sees hostages released and then the right to go back to fighting Hamas afterwards, while Hamas want a complete ceasefire to end the war, which will see Israeli troops leaving the Gaza Strip. And tonight it sounds that that very large gap has not been bridged. The best way of looking at this, perhaps, is that this is a negotiating ploy by Mr. Witkoff to try and bring Hamas to the table, but it offers no consolation for those Palestinians we saw starving in my report. And moves here on the diplomatic front in the UK as well, because it sounds as if Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has lost patience. He is saying tonight the situation in Gaza is unspeakable and indefensible. We're witnessing a humanitarian catastrophe. He said he's going to have an emergency call with the leaders of France, Germany and Italy tomorrow, and that we all agree, he says, on the pressing need for Israel to change course.
Jonathan, thanks very much. Well, joining me now from Westminster is Dr. Hassan Zomlot, head of the Palestinian mission to the UK. He was born in Gaza. Thank you very much for joining us. I mean, the devastation of malnutrition in Gaza is clear, and perhaps the only hope was that it would put pressure on both sides to come to secure a ceasefire. What is your understanding of where those talks are now?
Well, as your report says, it doesn't look good. Israel is absolutely adamantly want this genocide to continue. They want a pause in the genocide, but they are insisting that this will continue. And, you know, they are very public about it. A minister of theirs this morning saying that Gaza, thank God, is being wiped out via our government. They are bragging about it. They are very proud about it. And they want to press ahead with it. So as long as we are unable to change Israel's position, it doesn't look good, and it doesn't look like the main mediator
but
here.
The Americans who have left Doha have been quite clear. They have decided to bring their teams home, saying it is Hamas who do not appear to be operating in good faith.
What we see, what we follow, what we know is that it is the Israeli position that is the real stumbling block, not just now for the last 22 months. It was a U.S. proposed ceasefire 3 times that was actually accepted by all sides, and then Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, breached every one of them. So no, the record is very clear. This Israeli government is absolutely insisting on continuing its campaign of erasure, extermination, annihilation of the Palestinian people. Jackie,
the thing
this
is that
has
the
nothing
Americans,
to do.
the Americans have in recent weeks and months changed their language. They have been much more critical of Israel. So they are now saying the problem lies with Hamas. They are saying in their statement, alternative options to bring the hostages home will be considered. What do you interpret that to mean?
I interpret it as hypocrisy, because the U.S. on the one hand is very critical, is calling out Israeli crimes, but at the same time providing them with all the weapons, the arms, the financial support, the legal cover, the diplomatic support. History will write, the history books will write about this. It will write that Gaza is not just the biggest graveyard of children. Jackie, Gaza has 2.3 million people who are now being starved. Remember, 1 million of them are children. And your report just called the entire population of Gaza are walking corpses. Your report
exactly
quoted.
On the point about the people of Gaza who are starving. Surely Hamas have to move. They have to move, or people will continue to starve.
Move where? Move where? It's Israel that is sending
they have to move their position towards a ceasefire somehow.
Well, a ceasefire proposal was already on the table for more than 15 months now, and we all know the contours of the ceasefire. There will have to be an immediate and permanent ceasefire. There will have to be exchange of hostages, and I want to remind you, Jackie, we have hostages too in Israeli detention camps and the torture camps, and you have the record for how many thousands of our people have been rounded without trial, without charge, including 360...
Sorry to interrupt you, but I really want to get to this point. We heard Jonathan there saying Sir Keir Starmer appears to be losing patience. He is going to have this emergency call with other leaders, European leaders. What do you need them to do now?
Also, the Prime Minister and the British government need to stop just talking. Strong words are not enough. They are not enough. This is the most urgent situation in recent memory. We need action, and action is very well known. I mean, the first thing is to stop providing Israel with the very tools they are using to commit genocide against an entire people, to starve children and people. And the second, they know what needs to be done. Arms embargo, full arms embargo, no half commitments here. This is a legal commitment upon the UK government. Second is accountability. We must make sure that our rules-based international order holds itself now and really hold those war criminals to account. I chose in diplomacy, Jackie, long long ago before I believe in the international order. In fact, my first job was the UN, but today I tell you, all this is in shambles. It's crumbling before our eyes. And if we don't save Gaza, we would not have saved our international order, and humanity will be buried in Gaza.
There. I'm very sorry, we will have to leave it there, but thank you very much for speaking to us. Thank you. Well, we can now speak to the Israeli hostage negotiator, Gershon Baskin. What is your assessment of where these talks are? First, we were told the Israelis had brought their team home for consultations, with people saying that the talks hadn't broken down. Now we hear the Americans have left. Is this looking much more like a crisis to you now?
It is certainly a crisis. It's mainly a crisis because what needs to happen is negotiations to end the war. Not a partial ceasefire for 60 days that will bring home half the hostages, release some Palestinian prisoners. We need a deal on the table that's going to end the war. Israeli military experts have told me that Israel could withdraw completely from Gaza in a 2-week period of time. But as the Palestinian ambassador said, Israel wants to keep the war going. The government of Israel has an interest in keeping the war going for its own political survival, and that's why we're not seeing a negotiation for the end of the war. But I do want to point out that the Palestinians also have a great responsibility here, because one of Netanyahu's excuses for not ending the war is that if Israel leaves Gaza, Hamas stays in place. The Palestinian Authority government has failed to make a decision on the governance of Gaza after the war. Gaza is Palestinian, it will remain Palestinian. It is the responsibility of the Palestinian politicians to decide on who and how it's going to be governed when Israel is no longer occupying Gaza. This is a missing link here, and it's critical that the Palestinians weigh in here.
And I mean, it's absolutely critical at this moment when we see what is happening in Gaza in terms of malnutrition and starvation.
That's for sure. There are war crimes being committed in Gaza. The term genocide, which is being used, is correct according to the Convention on Genocide, which was written by the international community after the Holocaust. Now, it's important to note that this is not the Holocaust. It's not what the Nazis did to the Jews during World War II, but it is a Holocaust in the erasure of Gaza, in the wiping out of a civilization, in making 2 million people homeless in Gaza, in the starvation that's happening. And the international community has to weigh in. The letter that was signed by 28 countries is not good enough. It's a piece of paper. There needs to be action taken now against the war. It has to be forced to stop it, and the international community has to weigh in
and clearly,
with full weight to make it happen.
One of the most important players in the international community is the US. What do you make of that statement from the US, who seem to lay the blame firmly at Hamas's door?
Well, this is true. I heard this from American officials as well today. They're blaming Hamas, but I want to put the weight back on to the Americans, because we know if Donald Trump told Benjamin Netanyahu to end the war, get it done, that the war would end. But Trump has not told that to Netanyahu yet. And we were expecting that to happen when Netanyahu visited Washington a couple of weeks back. But apparently Netanyahu convinced Trump to allow him to continue with the war. This is unacceptable. The Americans have the ability to end the war by telling Netanyahu that he has to do it, and this is what needs to happen.
Gershon Baskin, going to leave it there, but thank you very much. Thank you.